Okay, Playday number 3 predictions. This is for NAL stage number 2 of the 2022 season. So, right, 2 days already in the books, and that'll sort of inform the predictions for today. But as I mentioned in previous videos, 5 of the 10 previous games were played online, several players sick, coaches subbing in, a bunch of weird stuff. It's really hard to call, and also it's still early in the season, so despite that, it's still hard to call. But I do think this day especially has several pretty tough ones to call. There were like, what, 2 or so that felt pretty difficult in the previous days on each of them, or something like that. But today I think there's 3 that are kind of hard to call, that could probably go either way. And then of course there's upset potential in the other 2, but one of them has Mirage, so we'll see about that. You know, I hate to dog on Mirage, but it is what it is at the moment until they prove that they are capable of getting a win, I suppose. So we'll go down the line, starting with Xset versus Bellum. This might be the match of the day. It looks like on paper perhaps the match of the day. I mean, I suppose these 2 look like higher profile. There's a lot more history here. Oxygen versus TSM and Dark Zero versus Sonics. But the way each of these teams is playing, Xset number 1 on the standings, and I think Bellum number 3, and Bellum nearly having 2 wins, but of course they're 1-1 with one of their points coming from an overtime loss against Oxygen, and then they have a win over Astralis, which is quite solid. Xset hasn't really faced much adversity, and not for lack of their opponents trying. I suppose a weakened Mirage was one of them, so maybe that's a little bit of a write-off, but they also took down SSG fairly handily, but also seemingly weakened SSG, but also seemingly the same SSG took down Dark Zero really easily. So where the teams stand is up to interpretation, and I think today, this day that we're talking about here, and tomorrow, the day after this, will really put things into perspective. So I guess I'll go with Xset here. This could definitely go either way. Maybe I'd want to call Bellum a little bit more if they'd won more handily, or if they, I guess, had won against Oxygen. And Xset, it is, again, hard to call with only one, like, realish game, but both of them also being played online. But they were good last stage, and they seem to still be pretty good this stage. So I'll go with them, but I could definitely see a Bellum victory coming out here. Space Station versus Beast Coast. Everyone's going to go with Space Station. I mean, maybe some Beast Coast fans or some true Beast Coast believers or whatever will go with Beast Coast, but for the time being, it seems like Space Station. If you want to do a little bit of a hierarchy thing, of course, Beast Coast got crushed 7-2 by Dark Zero, and Space Station crushed Dark Zero 7-2. So, I mean, if that pattern holds, then Space Station should easily take care of Beast Coast. This could be a close game, and Beast Coast did beat Space Station last stage, but I think maybe the map choice will be a little bit less favorable for Beast Coast. I think they played on Bank last time, which I think was a good SSG map, but it turns out also to be a good Beast Coast map. And I mean, I think it was just Sweater really popped off on the day. It was what it was, and I feel like it's going to be different this time. I'll go with SSG. Oxygen versus TSM. So they played last stage, and Oxygen won. I don't remember what the scoreline was off the top of my head, but certainly TSM didn't beat them, because TSM only beat, Xset and Bellum last stage, only 7 points on the board. And Oxygen's second best team, behind only Astralis, and they were quite solid, and they went to the major, and they were fairly solid at the major, and they've been a little bit shaky thus far in the stage, almost losing to Bellum, almost going to overtime versus Beast Coast, but those were both on theme park, so maybe both of these teams had some issues on theme park recently, with Oxygen's being very recent. TSM's were last stage. They had several losses on theme park, and I guess, well, you know, several losses overall, but a lot of them on theme park, like 3 of them or something. And I mean, TSM second place on the board. Oxygen, I said Bellum I think was 3rd place. They're 4th place, right? Oxygen is above them. Bellum on 4 points, and Oxygen on 5, so they are in 3rd place. So correction to that. And right, so yeah, second team versus 3rd team, but Oxygen is on a little bit of a hot streak if you take into account all last stage in the major and whatever, and TSM is only just climbing out of a slump, but it's hard to tell if they actually have, because they only played Sonics and Mirage, who are seemingly struggling at the moment, with, of course, them being a little bit different situations. We'll talk about both of those teams in a minute when we get to their respective matches. And so I guess I'll go with Oxygen. I could definitely see TSM taking this, but it just feels like there's a little bit more recent pedigree going into Oxygen, and you know, in theory, maybe they should beat TSM, but maybe TSM is just completely back, and it's just hard to tell with what's happened thus far. So I guess I'll go with Oxygen, but this is also another one that's very tough to call. Definitely could go TSM's way. And then we have Dark Zero versus Sonic. So Dark Zero won last stage. I think it was 7-4 on border. So a decent performance by Sonics compared to some of their other performances. They got relatively close. They had several games where they lost, getting only 0, 1, 2, 3 rounds or whatever. They got 4 against Dark Zero. The reigning major champions now weren't at the time, but of course they went on to become the champions. And Dark Zero just took a pretty bad loss to Space Station last week. So does that mean that Dark Zero is just not as good as it seemed like they could be based on their major winning? Are they back to struggling in best of 1? Is Space Station really good? Was it because they were playing online? Like, just a million factors. And Sonics, they barely lost to Astralis. They lost, I guess, in round 15, and then they lost to TSM, and that was in round 12. So 2 pretty close games, but still they only walked away with the 1 point. I of course want to pick Sonics. I always like picking the teams I root for to win games, but I guess I'll go with Dark Zero. It seems like a safer bet. It's sort of similar to the TSM situation over here, where Oxygen kind of struggled, so there's maybe reasons to vote against them. They do have 5 points on the board, and Dark Zero also has struggled. They got a very good win against Beast Coast, but they got stomped by SSG. But Sonics, maybe they seem like they could be on a trajectory for a comeback, because again, they did get 2 losses, but 2 very close losses against seemingly 2 pretty good teams at the moment, to be determined going forward into the stage. So I guess what I'm trying to say, yeah, the matchup feels similar in that it feels like you should pick the team on the left, but I could also see the team on the right winning it out. It both seem totally possible. I guess I'll go with Dark Zero though. I'm just gonna pick one. It is what it is. And then finally, Astralis versus Mirage. It looks like I'm gonna pick all the teams on the left again. Yeah, my pick rate's only 50% coming into the day, which is like really bad. I want to say I beat the analyst desk and everything in the last 2 stages, which is the only 2 stages I actually did predictions for. Right. I mean, I guess I didn't say who I'm going with. Of course, obviously Astralis. I said all the guys on the left. This should be an easy one. Astralis, I'm assuming all their players should be back to being healthy. Same thing for Mirage, I would imagine. I guess they had COVID last week, but I don't know. Is a week sufficient enough time? It seemed like just a week ago Melted was in the process of dying, but I would imagine, after 3 or 4 days, they were probably feeling mostly better, and it's been like 6 days since the last play day. Tomorrow, when this day happens, so hopefully everyone's all healed up. I'm sure they'll be playing in person unless, I don't know, more players contracted COVID, so we'll have to see. But no matter how you spin things, it should be an Astralis victory. Mirage 10th place last stage, Astralis 1st place last stage, and Astralis does only have 2 points on the board, right? They lost 3 to Bellum, 1 to Sonics, and Mirage doesn't have any points on the board. They lost 3 to TSM, and they lost 3 to Xset, right? So, yeah, I think this would probably be the lock for the day, based on, I mean, the fact that we have several close matchups up here, and then also the fact that this seems to be a pretty big disparity in terms of quality of teams. I could see this maybe being a little bit closer than it seems like it would be on paper, because Astralis has had some issues, but again, like they had sick players, coach summing in, whatever. Yeah, it should be an Astralis victory, but maybe Mirage can pull something crazy. Yeah, we'll see. But okay, that's going to be my predictions for the day, and so I guess I'll go down the line one more time. Xset over Bellum, Space Station over Beast Coast, Oxygen over TSM, Dark Zero over Sonics, and Astralis over Mirage. So hopefully I can get at least 3 out of 5 of these right to bring my prediction percentage correct predictions up some amount. And if not, it is what it is. It is kind of a tough day to call. I mean, I suppose, I don't know. I don't even know which one is like the hardest to call. I feel like this one or this one or this one could all go the other way. And I mean, if you think it's like even more in favor of the other team than I picked, let me know. And I suppose in the case of like TSM, they are above Oxygen on the standings, so that could lead you to pick TSM if you were just favoring that more than anything else. And yeah, I guess that pretty well does it. So again, if you have anything regarding whatever I said to say in the comments, let me know. If you have any other comments, also let me know. And other than that, a like and a subscription would be appreciated. So with all of that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video.